Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Stephen Brown, and in today's video, guys, free agency is tomorrow, and in today's video, I wanted to take a look at some free agents who I think the Maple Leafs should explore signing. We talked about this a little bit in a previous video, but I figured I would go a bit more in depth with it today. The Chicago Blackhawks will not be tendering qualifying offers to both Dylan Strome and Dominik Kubalik, making them free agents. First, let's talk about Dylan Strome. Dylan Strom is 25, he plays the middle of the ice, he's 6'3", and he's 200 pounds. And he's also from the Toronto area and a big Maple Leafs fan. Now, Strom is coming off of a contract that saw him make $3.6 million in real money last year, meaning that the qualifying offer that the Blackhawks would have had to have extended to him would have had to have been at least $3.6 million, but they decided to walk away from him. If you remember the storylines from last season about Dylan Strome, the Blackhawks were not happy with him to start the season. They were benching him for games. They were playing him like 10, 11 minutes a night. But from about the new year onwards, they were playing him more like a top six centerman. And he produced at that rate, playing between Alex DeBrincat and Patrick Kane, putting up 42 points in the final 50 regular season games. I know his cap-friendly page has him listed as a center winger, but last year for the Chicago Blackhawks, like we said, he spent the majority of his season playing on their top line between both Alex DeBrincat and Patrick Kane, so he is a centerman. And he wasn't a passenger on that line either. He was a good playmaker and an efficient shooter who played difficult minutes on the Blackhawks between Alex DeBrincat and Patrick Kane. He could make a fine addition to the Maple Leafs in their top six, probably coming in at a number similar to that qualifying offer between $3.5 and $4 million. At 6'3" and 200 pounds, he doesn't throw a lot of hits, but he does use his size to get into the dirty areas of the ice, and that's why he was able to be an efficient shooter, because he's taking those shots from the low slot area right in front of the net. While I don't understand why the Blackhawks didn't qualify Dylan Strome, I do understand why they didn't qualify Dominik Kubalik, but that doesn't mean that he's not a decent player. The 26-year-old winger had a salary of $4 million last season, so that means if the Blackhawks wanted to retain him, they would have had to have extended him a $4 million qualifying offer, and for a player who scored just 32 points in 78 games and 15 goals, that's not really worth $4 million. He hasn't quite been able to follow up that impressive 30-goal rookie campaign that he had, where 26 out of those 30 goals came at even strength, mind you. He was playing the majority of his minutes that season next to Jonathan Toews and Drake Caggiula, so not even Patrick Kane. But if you know anything about Kubalik, it's that he's got an absolutely lethal shot, and if you compare him with someone who can get him the puck, he's going to do some damage. I mean, Oilers fans know a bit about that. He scored some pretty big goals against them in the bubble playoffs, that one season with 8 points in 9 games, and he's familiar with the centerman that the Maple Leafs already have. Now, David Kampf isn't necessarily a playmaking centerman, but he did have success playing with Dominik Kubalik the year before that he joined the Toronto Maple Leafs, playing largely in a defensive role, mind you. And if you take a look at the Blackhawks forwards from the 2021 season and who played the most amount of minutes up against the other team's best players, it was Patrick Kane, David Kampf, Brandon Hagel, and Dominik Kubalik. And that trio of Kampf, Hagel, and Kubalik put up some crooked numbers in some heavy defensive zone minutes. The problem being is that the Maple Leafs don't have Brandon Hagel, but if they did have a player who profiled similarly to him that year, they may be able to recreate those results and get some success with Kubalik, Kampf, and, if you guessed the player, Pierre Engvall. Hagel was the puck carrier on that line with Kampf and Kubalik, and if there's one thing that Pierre Engvall is good at, it's skating with the puck up ice. On the screen right now are Kubalik's metrics from the year that he spent the majority of his minutes playing with David Kampf. I'm not sure what the market is for a guy like him, but if he's willing to sign for maybe $1.25 million or $1.5 million, his chemistry with Kampf and his effective shot could make him a value add for the Toronto Maple Leafs, especially considering that the bulk of the scoring that he's done in his career has come at even strength. Next on this list is Trevor Zegras' triggerman, Sonny Milano, who was not tendered a qualifying offer from the Anaheim Ducks. For whatever reason, the Anaheim Ducks decided not to qualify the 26-year-old former first-round pick who really started to put it together this past season, and the qualifying offer would have been for $1.8 million, so not exactly anything that would have broken the bank. 34 points in 66 games doesn't exactly leap out at you, but the Ducks finished 24th in the NHL in scoring last season. his playmaking ability was almost second to none. Just his vision to be able to feed pucks into the dangerous areas of the ice is a very valuable tool and asset. And if you pair him with the right guys, you may just set someone up for a 30 or a 40 goal season. He'd be an interesting top 6 option for the Maple Leafs, but I wouldn't mind him in a bottom 6 scoring role either. He was also decent defensively for the Ducks last season as well, so he'd definitely be a player that I'd be willing to take a flyer on if the price was right. The next player that I wanted to talk about is Zack Ashton Rhys. Now, if you're a fan of advanced analytics, you've already known about this player for a number of years. He actually got Selke votes a couple of years ago when he played for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Rhys also ranked 16th in the NHL in hits per 60 minutes among forwards to play at least 20 games last year. So on top of being an analytical darling, he also lays the body. Zack Ashton Rhys profiles similarly to David Kampf in the sense that he really only does one thing well, and that's defend. So if the Maple Leafs are interested in just having the ultimate analytic shutdown line, Zack Ashton Rhys is definitely on the list of guys that they should consider signing this offseason. He'll be 28 years old at the start of next season, and he's coming off of a contract that saw him make $1.725 million a season. If the Maple Leafs can get him on a similar number or slightly cheaper, I'd be a fan of it. He's very good at what he does. Next on this list is goaltender Ilya Samsonov, who was not tendered a qualifying offer by the Washington Capitals. After a really good rookie season, he dipped a little bit in his sophomore year, but in the first season where the Capitals really gave him a heavier workload, he faltered, having an .896 save percentage in the 44 games that he played. He did have a .912 save percentage in 5 games against the Florida Panthers in these past playoffs, so who knows? He would be an interesting bet to make. If we're taking a closer look at the numbers at 5-on-5 and comparing them to Matt Murray's and Jack Campbell's, Samsonov struggled to stop those high danger shots, those shots that are coming from right in front of the net, but did a decent job at stopping the ones from the high slot area. But if we look at the number of goals that he allowed and compare them relative to the quantity and quality of scoring opportunities that he faced, he didn't have that great of a season. But if he costs anything similar to what the Avalanche paid to re-sign Alexander Georgiev, which was $3.4 million in 3 years, I just have to pass. Georgiev is 26, Samsonov is 25. They've both been in the NHL for 3 seasons now and have posted similar numbers to this point, so they're probably comparables for each other. But if Samsonov is willing to sign a $2 to $2.5 million deal on a 1 or 2 year contract, I'd be interested. If it's anything more than that, I'd have to pass. But that's going to be it for the video, guys. I'm sure there were other players who I could have added to this list, but I didn't want to make the video too long, and we can always do another one in a couple of days. You know, after the first round or 2 of signings have passed, we can take a look at the guys who are remaining and see if there's anyone worthwhile taking a look at. But like I said, that's going to be it for the video, guys. Make sure to like the video if you did like it and subscribe for more, because more is always on the way. And guys, I'll see you in the next one.